Danny Flexen here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by Paul Butler, former world champion, of course, and in action this Sunday on the MTK show. We're looking forward to that. And I guess I've got to ask you, first of all, you're in a very strange situation, at least from the outside, in that you're a former world champion, still relatively young, on good form, fighting in decent company. Why aren't you on the massive shows? What's going on?
Don't know, mate. I really don't know. I honestly believe I'm in the best form of my life. The records are set in the gym. Me sparring I do. I honestly don't know. Maybe since leaving Frank was probably a mistake on my behalf. But I just felt a bit frustrated. Being left on the sideline on the first BT show that they had. Nicola Adams got a shot over me and Dubois got a shot over me. And it was his debut and he was hyped up to be, well, he is hyped up to still be the next best thing at heavyweight. So, but I just felt a bit hard done by with not even getting a BT slot after him. After loads of tough times that they were going through years before with Box Nation and me winning them pretty much every title, British, Commonwealth. Couldn't win the European because it wasn't in my weight class at the time, but I went on to win a world title when times were really tough for Frank, and I felt very undervalued at the time. Maybe it was a mistake on my behalf leaving Frank, but you live and you learn.
Yeah, it's just I can't think of another situation similar to yours. You get former world champions who then morph into journeymen later on in their careers, and they end up on the small hall circuit, which is understandable. But you're still beating good people. You're what, 31?
Yeah, 31. Yeah.
Yeah, so your best years could very much still be ahead of you. What?
Yeah.
We'll talk about Sunday's fight, obviously, but what do you do to get from where you are now to get back up into that world title contention?
Well, obviously signing with MTK is a massive step, and it's huge for me. That can get me back on a big platform. Probably one of the biggest platforms in the world at the moment. We need to look at the fighters they've got and what they're doing in the sport. So I believe this fight on Sunday can push me up into. I'm ranked number 3 with the IBF. There's a number 1, number 2 is vacant. Last time I checked, it was vacant anyway. So I'm making championship weight to try and push up into number 2 slot, and then we'll see what happens with the IBF if it becomes vacant. Number 1, number 2 fight for it.
Last time, a lot of people will have seen you, and you fought at least 5 times since, but would have been the Emmanuel Rodriguez fight because of the platform that it was on. When you look back on that now, how do you assess it? He's obviously a very, very good fighter.
Yeah, I had 4 weeks' notice, and it wasn't just the world title at stake for me. I had the World Boxing Super Series carrot dangling over me, and I'd obviously watched what Callum had done and what Callum had earned and what Callum achieved off winning that. So I had that there as well. So with me having 4 weeks' notice and being nearly 2 stone overweight, it didn't really help. And then 2 weeks before becoming ill, I was out the gym for 3 days, getting back in the gym and trying to make weight for the whole of the 4 weeks. I had no well, obviously we had a game plan going into it, but I couldn't really work too much because I was losing weight, and that hurt. It really hurt. It hurt me trying to make the weight. And for people to slate you on Twitter, it's probably why I don't use Twitter anymore. People to just sit there and slate you over the keyboard and just sit there on the phones, not knowing a true story, not knowing a full story, then do you know what? I just couldn't be bothered with it anymore. I just thought that's me done with Twitter. They don't know the full story. But maybe it's half my own fault as well. I should be sitting around a half decent weight. But I was never to know that I was going to get 4 weeks for the world title. It was either 4 weeks or you cannot box Emmanuel Rodriguez for the IBF title, and that had been the world title gone and the World Boxing Super Series gone.
With all the challenges that you've taken on since then, how important has it been that you're with Joe Gallagher? Obviously not just putting you on shows, but keeping you motivated in the gym, and all the lads in the gym as well.
Yeah, I only need to go in the gym and have a little look around, and there's always someone in a big fight, or do you know what I mean? There's when I'm in the gym, there's always something there to push you, and it's just a top quality gym. Do you know what I mean? It's like I'm not walking in the gym and I'm not like, oh, what am I doing today? I'm always either watching a good spar, I'm always learning. We're always doing something different in the gym. So I enjoy my gym work, which helps, especially when, like, through this whole pandemic where no one's been really active. You enjoy your gym work, it's half the battle.
And without being kind of overly nosy, you mentioned earlier about looking at the WBSS and how well Callum Smith had done out of it financially. You obviously had a couple of world title fights, but since then you've been rebuilding on the small hall circuit. Has it been tough at times financially?
At times, yeah. Financially, the boxing. Well, I've been paid from my big shows, my world title fights, but financially wise, the purses for the small hall shows are nowhere near as well. They're not even a scratch on what you get on your big shows. Do you know what I mean? When I've been boxing for titles or in good fights or just even on TV slots. In the past, I've been paid extremely well in my career, so I can't really moan. But yeah, the last year and a half, it's only been penny, shall we say, to what I'm used to.
You've always had a very crowd pleasing style, a lot of fun to watch. How are you feeling about going in there on Sunday with no fans in attendance?
Yeah, I get asked this quite a lot, especially by all my mates and a lot of people that I've done interviews with. Do you know what? I only hear a certain few voices when I'm in that ring anyway. I'll hear Joe's, I'll hear Macca's, who's my amateur coach who does the corner with Joe. I'll hear my dad, and I hear my sisters, but that's only because they're screaming their heads off. And the rest of it around me is just a noise. Do you know what I mean? Just a big noise. People say to me after the fight, "Did you hear me in the crowd?" And I'm like, "Well, no, it's just a noise that to me. I hear certain voices which I'll take note to." So I haven't done it, and I haven't spoke to anyone that has. Well, Tash has done it, and she said it was pretty fine, to be honest. She said she didn't really pay any attention if there was a crowd or there wasn't. So come Sunday, I don't even think it'll matter. Once that bell goes and I'm tunnel vision, I get down to work, it won't matter to me.
You've got Ryan Walker, of course, on Sunday. He's coming off that stoppage defeat to Lee McGregor, which was a tough one for him, but he has been active. He fought, I think that was in August, so not too long ago. You've been out the ring for quite a while. Is there going to be a bit of rust? Is that something you need to be concerned about in the early rounds?
No. Listen, I'm a strong believer in if you've had good sparring, you've had a good training camp, you're feeling good in the gym, you're doing the right things, then I don't believe in all this ring rust. I'll go out there and I'll set the tempo, or I'll have a look at him probably the first minute, and then I'll get down to work and you won't see no ring rust from me.
What about the COVID kind of shadow hanging over, especially being from, you're from Ellesmere Port, but not far at all from Liverpool.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a centre for COVID in the past few months. We saw Jazza Dickens and Derry Matthews obviously test positive, and their fight was postponed for that reason. Has that been a worry? Have you been like really ultra careful in terms of not mixing it with people and getting close and stuff?
Yeah, well, over this last week or so, I'm an amateur coach as well. So where it all started for me, I train the kids and the seniors in our club, Whittle CP. So I've stayed out of there. I've pretty much like tried to keep my distance. When I'm a football manager as well on a Saturday, so I've tried to keep my distance on a Saturday. So yeah, over this last week or so, I've been cautious. But other than that, no, because it to be honest with you, it's doing my head in at the moment. I think like how London and that aren't going into tier 3, and like the other day I seen a picture of them at like a theatre or something. It's all over the internet. I mean, come on, how we're all getting told to social distance and they're all doing that. I think they're hiding a lot of numbers up London ways, and I think Liverpool and places like Liverpool are getting the backlash of it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to what you say there. But you just mentioned some of your other roles, so I'm going to have to ask you about that now. We're all CP, obviously, where it all began. Just tell us how that's going, how you got involved.
Yeah, well, originally when I boxed at the club, it was called Vauxhall Motors.
Yeah.
With Paul Lloyd. It was a former British, Commonwealth and European bantamweight champion as well. We've had Nick McDonald, a bantamweight. Do you know what I mean? We've produced some top kids. It's now called Whittle CP. We changed our name. So I'm in there Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Sometimes we do Saturday sessions if there's a show coming up. It's just something I've gradually just, for years and years, I'd go in like once a week, or I'd nip in when I could. But over the last 2 years, I've been full time Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Sometimes the Saturday we're in. It's just something I enjoy, and I love passing knowledge on from what I've learned over the years into kids, and to watch them just pick it up. They might get it wrong 1 or 2 times, but then when you get it right, you think, yeah. And you know, with certain kids, you got to be patient as a coach. Some kids, it'll take 10 minutes for them to get something right. Some it'll take 3 sessions. Do you know what I mean? But that's the whole beauty of it. Some kids are different, and some will pick it up, some won't. But when they do pick it up, it's nice to see.
How much have you taken in that role from your coaches, like Macca, Joe, obviously, and some of the coaches when you were younger at Vauxhall Motors as well?
Massively. I still do it now. I still sit there, and when I'm in Joe's gym and I'm watching him, and I think, yeah, I can take that into our gym tonight. And even with Macca now, in our amateur club, I still sit there and I still watch Macca, and I still, just the way he deals with certain kids and the way he'll put something across to a kid, and just like, I like to think my feet are one of my best parts of me game. So I still sit there and I still watch people, and I'm still trying to perfect my feet, and I'm still trying to watch people do it, and then I'm like, oh, I like that, I'll try that myself. And even Joe said the other week in the gym, he said, you can tell you're training the kids as well, because in your style yourself, you can see yourself trying to perfect stuff, especially when I'm on the bag and that. So it's rubbing off on myself on my gym work as well.
Do you ever have a little move around with some of the kids? Not so much for your benefit, but for them.
Yeah, obviously before all this COVID and that, yeah, I was. We had a little kid there called Keegan Clark. He was in the semi-finals. Very naturally talented kid, southpaw. A little bit, I wouldn't say too good for the other kids, but probably knew a little bit too much at the time. So I was moving him around. I was moving quite a few of them around. All the kids around, anything from 48 kilo up to 60 odd kilo, I'd move them around, and they're just obviously going to learn a little bit more from me than they are in a normal spar with someone else, because sometimes they get rushed, sometimes things aren't getting through at them in the correct way. And I talk to them as I'm going through the spar as well. Like a lot of kids nowadays, you see them trying to do a paddy and they bring their arm right out. So I'll feint the jab and I'll just catch them with a little left hook, and I'll say, that's what you get for trying to meet the paddy. You don't. You just turn the wrist and stiffen the hand up. It's just little tiny things.
And did you get the benefit of that sort of stuff when you were a kid, like the likes of Paul Lloyd and people like that?
Yeah, Paul Lloyd was in the gym. We also had Lee Holmes, who's still a coach in our gym now. I think he had 7 as a pro, won 6. He beat John Simpson on his way through, and was a very, very good amateur himself. Boxed for England numerous times. So I had that with Lee. I was watching Nick McDonald for years and years and years growing up. So he was perfect for me, just to sit there. I'd sit there, like his session would be after mine, because we do certain sessions. We do the amateur boxers, then we'll do the seniors and the senior amateur boxers. So my session would be at 5:30, and I'd sit there and I'd watch Nick at 6:30, especially when he was sparring. So I was always learning off him. But up and down the country, you just, especially as amateurs, you know what it's like, up and down the country in the car, and you're just constantly talking about boxing. And when you're in the car with Macca, you're constantly learning.
You're constantly listening, I imagine, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. We're always listening, or he'd have us singing the Pogues.
Brilliant. Just before I let you go, for people out there who haven't seen you recently, I'm sure they've seen you, in the world title days anyway, but just in case, what can they expect on Sunday night from you and your performance?
Yeah, a dominant performance. No ring rust. Don't be expecting none of that. As soon as I get in there, yeah, I'll have a little look at Ryan, feel him out, and then I'll knuckle down. I'll get to work, and you'll see a top class performance. Whichever way I go about it, whether I want to sit there and try and take him out, I'll take him out. If I want to outclass him and put on a good display, I'll do that also.
Great stuff. Well, I can't wait to watch it, and
Cheers,
hopefully
mate.
have a chat with you again after the fight at some point as you head towards that world title shot.
Definitely, mate. Cheers.
Cheers, mate. Take care.
Nice one.